Hello, everyone. My name is Mark from the Misplay Podcast, and you're listening to Eternal Journey, everyone's favorite Eternal podcast.
Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
Greetings, all my knights and padawans out there. You are listening to Eternal Journey, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi, and this is episode 62 of the podcast, and we are going to be bringing you some current event action in the form of the Scion Draft Primer. That's what we're going to be talking about today. It is the latest event that is going to be released this week by Direwolf Digital, and we're going to go ahead and give you the lowdown, the broad strokes, the down and dirty to help you have fun in this event. But first things first, I want to welcome on the show my two good friends, starting off from the West Coast, my brother from another mother, my home skilly slice. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How's it going, Jedi? What's up, fellas?
Doing well, man.
Yo.
Excited for today's show. That other smooth sound and sensual voice you hear on your earlobes is the one, the only, John Holio. What's up, John?
Oh, hi. How's it going?
Going well, man. Going well. But we have a special guest for you today and this week. That's right. We have a fourth member joining our party today. Member of, in fact, I take that back, correction, team captain of the team Eternal Journey. The man, the myth, person that's friends with everyone, Mr. Top 16 himself. Want to welcome on the show, Dubmic. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Jedi? Thanks for allowing me to be here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Great to have you, man. Really appreciate it. We will be discussing a little more about your history in the constructed corner of this week. But some additional housekeeping. We have twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ. That's right. That's where you can catch myself, John, and Alex hanging out 4 days a week. That's right. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Doing a little bit of constructed on Saturdays, and then a whole lot of drafting, including cube drafting, or I should say Scion drafting. Segue. Live on Twitch. You can hang out with us, and Dubmic's there occasionally as well when he's not doing adult things. If you can't catch us live, always check out the YouTube channel Eternal Journey, where you can actually be watching the video version of this podcast. That's right, where you get to see my not so fantastic mug as I demonstrate and show all the cards and the what's the plays on the screen for you. And lastly, if you are more of a reader to learn type person, or read to learn, then you can check out my draft article, where you walk through a draft from start to finish with me, to include the deck building process as well at Eternal Warcry. That's right, go on there, and I am the last article posted so far, so I'm on the front page, so booyah. Okay, going into one of my favorite sections of the show, we have shout outs. That's right, this is where I show some love to all the people that have showed some love and support to me and us and this great community. So going off with the people who have donated some serious bit action this week. Starting off with number one of our biggest supporters of the community as a whole, as well as this podcast and the channel. Thank you so much. Going out to Extinction. Extinction has done a phenomenal job just showing so much positivity, encouragement, supporting all the streamers out there. And to show a little bit of thanks, he was recently promoted to the rank of Jedi Knight, and it was absolutely amazing. So thank you so much. He unlocked both the new emotes, the RIP AT-AT, as well as the Thumbs Up Jedi. So shout out there. And then, of course, also thank you to Brick Racer and Titus and Blossom for donating those sweet, sweet biddies this week. Really appreciate you guys. Gift subs coming in with a ridiculous, a preposterous, an absurd amount of gift subs to the channel. Both Mercurial Blue and Better Up. Both of those guys came in strong and donated plus 10 gift subs to the community. So thank you guys so much, sharing all those great and glorious emotes with everyone. I'm glad I gotta definitely up my emote game, make sure it's high quality stuff that everyone likes sharing. Speaking of which, shout out to everyone that was on stream this week. We hit a new milestone, guys. We made it. Not only did we get the hype train going, but we made the hype train all the way to level 4. that was pretty awesome. Not gonna lie, I was blown away by the generosity of the community and just a great vibe going all around. And then lastly, welcome new knights to the Jedi Order. I want to welcome Better Up, Sibling 2023, Kamikaze, Yoda Bite, and Try and Kill Me. Welcome, guys, one and all, to the Jedi Order. Really appreciate it. And thank you once again to all my ongoing subs and supporters, which ironically, all three of you in the show right now are ongoing supporters. So thank you guys so much for constantly, I guess, helping me do all the crazy shenanigans and ideas I have. You guys are fantastic. So thank you for all that.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely, man.
Woot woot. All right, sweet. Well, that's all the housekeeping I got. So that's going to lead us to our pack one, pick one. Dubmic, are you ready for some pack one, pick one action?
Absolutely.
Good. You had to think about it. Are you not sure?
He said
I'm
absolutely.
absolutely positive. I said absolutely.
Okay. It was just a long hesitation for absolutely. It was kind of like, absolutely? Why is there a question at the end of that? Very well. All right, guys. So we have something special for you today. We've done this once before on the show. So because of the Scion Draft, long story short, we will get into it in further detail in a moment, but I do want to get through the pack one, pick one. The biggest key point about the Scion Draft is that there is no rarity restrictions on the packs, which means you're going to see packs with multiple rares and legendaries in them versus just one. So in kind of encompassing the entire episode into this, we snagged a pack one, pick one from my powered Scion/Cube draft that I've been doing every Sunday, and we're gonna go ahead and go through these picks. And ironically, it's funny because 1/2 of the key cards I have pointed out to talk about later are in this pack. So excellent. So all right, let's go with I'll just break down the entire pack for you guys. Of course, once again, if you are on YouTube, you can check out the actual pack on screen, but I'll go through the entire pack, break it down, and then we'll go through each person telling me what your top 2 picks are and why. I think that's the quickest way to get through this pack with 4 people. So first we have Omnibius Vorlunk, 3/1 dinosaur for 3 time, killer, and overwhelm. Ironically, we have an slightly upgraded version of that next with Striking Snake Formation. This is a slow spell for 5 time. Your units get killer. Ashara, Ruthless Assassin, 3/3 Elf Gunslinger for 3 Shadow. She has Deadly. When Ashara attacks with exactly 1 other unit, she gets +4 attack and quick draw this turn. At the end of the turn, she kills that unit. Ouch. We have Caiphas, Wandering King. This is the 5/5 Scion for 6. Neutral. No faction. Factionless, maybe. Summon. Caiphas gets 3 random battle skills. And yes, this does include all the good stuff like Exalted. Sparkcatcher. This is a 2/1 Grenadin for 2 fire. 2 fire. Entomb. Play a 1/1 Grenadin. Bloodright Callus. +0/+0 relic weapon for 3 StoneScar. Summon. Sacrifice all of your units. Bloodright Callus gets a +2/+2 for each unit sacrificed. So for example, should you have an assembly line that creates 3 Grenadins, then play Callus, it will sack all 3 Grenadins and Callus would be a 6/6 weapon. Full Scrounger. This is the 2/2 Grenadin for 3 fire. Your other Grenadins have +1 attack. Entomb. Put a firebomb into the enemy deck. Bizarre Trickster. Enjoy the show. 2/3 Mage for 2 time. Pay 4 to silence an enemy unit. Rectifier on a stick ×20. Obliterate. 5 fire. Slow spell. Overwhelm. Deal 6 damage to a unit or player. Extract. 3 shadow. Lifesteal. Deal 3 damage. And scout at slow speed. Clutch Keeper is an 8/7 dinosaur for 14 triple primal. It has bond. When you bond Clutch Keeper, she gets killer. When she attacks, play 2 3/3 dinosaurs with overwhelm. And finally, Tell It. Queen's Hand. This is a 6/6 soldier for 7 double justice. When you attack the enemy player with a 1 unit, play +3/+3 weapon on it. Play 2 justice sigils from your deck, depleted. And finally, if that wasn't good enough, and the enemy units get a -1 attack. It's a curse, and it has to be the enemy player. Attacking a site does not trigger Tell It. Okay, so starting off with our guest, Dubmic, what 2 cards stand out to you in this pack and why, friend?
I think my first pick would be Caiphas the Wandering King. It's a good bomb for 6. It's colorless, so you can go anywhere you want to after your first pick. You're not designated to try to stay in a specific faction. The 3 random skills can be a little iffy, but more often than not, you're going to get something worth making him stand up. I think my second pick would probably be Tell It. It is double justice, but the fact that he can win the game on his own without any help from anybody else. And if you do actually have multiple units out there, you can focus 1 unit, keep open some blockers in case they have, a wide board. And then while continually diminishing the attack of all your opponent's units.
Nice. Solid breakdown. I like that. John, let's head over to you, buddy. What are your top 2?
Yeah, I'm with Dubmic on Caiphas here for sure, for all the reasons mentioned. And then Talut's my runner-up for 3rd, I think, but I think my second pick here would be Bizarre Trickster, actually. Repeatable removal is always good. Removal tends to be, spot removal is not going to be extremely common here or anything. So, and people are going to want to save it for things more along the lines of Caiphas and Tell It. So I think this guy has a good chance to stick around and, over the course of the game, get some good work done. That being said, I still think I'd first pick Caiphas out of this pack.
All right. I like the bizarre trickster play. All right, going to you, Alex. What are your top 2, friend?
So you guys know I'm horrible at this, but so I like the Caiphas, the thought of that being a colorless per se unit, factionless unit. It's easy to cast. It keeps you open, like Dub said. And then second, I was thinking what John did, because silencing in a cube is basically removal. There's no vanilla units. They're all going to do crazy stuff. So silencing basically removes it. It's an okay body at 2. Not that you necessarily want to run it out, but yeah, I think I would pick that second as well. And then if you want to get crazy, you can get the Clutch Keeper, and there's not going to be an 8/7 for 14 Bond unless it's supported a little bit. So I mean, if you can get that guy going too, that sounds pretty fun. So that's my my fun option, to go all in on or whatever.
Man,
all right,
you guys make this too easy. This is fantastic. Gosh, I'm a great host. I just ask questions. You guys make me seem smart. Excellent. So all 3 of you are correct in my opinion. We will talk. Ironically, that was a great segue, Alex, just a little early, because we are going to talk about that here later on. But you are correct. The Clutch Keeper does have support for the bond in the cube, because, well, I mean, that's just the fun part about building a cube in a format, is you want to make sure there's synergies. I do like the Tell It play, because Tell It is extremely powerful, especially when, you mentioned, Dubmic, where you end up playing it and then immediately get to attack to get the effect. Plus, it drawing sigils out of your deck means it ramps you, as well as cleans up your draws. But it is a little underpowered compared to the other 2, and I agree with you guys hands down. Caiphas is the best pick here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then Bizarre Trickster, John is correct. In the Scion Draft, there's going to be card quality galore. You're going to see so many stronger units being played. So being able to silence those units and turn them into just vanilla units is extremely powerful, and it's repeatable. Much like what Alex said, you're not going to be playing that Trickster on 2. It's going to be more of playing it in the late game, where you could play it and immediately activate it and just start kind of neutering your opponent's game plan. Caiphas, though it is random, it is extremely powerful. If you high roll, the ceiling is just through the roof. That was pretty good. And that was good. I wasn't even trying. Give it to me.
You got it, man.
Your own thing is good.
But the fact that it's colorless means that it has the highest chance of making your deck. And we've already established how our pack one, pick one, you can have the most time to kind of figure it out, but at the same time, it's the least educated guess you make because you don't know what anyone before you is taking. So I do agree. I think I like Clutch Keeper for the fun. Hey, I'm gonna build the dinosaur deck thing. Tell It is a very solid play and can end the game in very short order. Overall power level, Caiphas and Trickster are the top picks. So well done, gentlemen. Well done indeed. You guys are fantastic.
All right.
Giggity. All right, so that takes us right into our main topic, ladies and gentlemen. And today we're going to be breaking down the latest and greatest event coming from Direwolf, which is something that you see a lot of people excited about, which is the Scion Draft. And Scion Draft, for those of you that have been following me for a while, is what they're going to go ahead and brand the quote-unquote cube draft that we've been doing every week. So that's extremely exciting because this could be a test run as to them potentially implementing this a little more often in the actual client. So what is the Scion Draft event? Let's break it down real quick. So Scion Draft will be happening. Actually, I'll just read you exactly what's on the page. Scion Draft is a special Phantom format. So Phantom we'll talk about in a moment. Unlike a normal draft, you do not keep the cards you pick. So play it straight and simple. We've seen this before with like the pre-release events where they give you a pre-constructed deck, you play with it, and then once the event's over, those cards disappear. They're not added to your collection. It's the same thing here with the Scion Draft. Entry cost 300 gems or 4,000 gold. A run is to 7 wins or 3 losses, whichever comes first, with rewards based on your total number of wins. Your first 5, so pretty much that, as far as that goes, it runs just like a regular draft. It is a little slightly cheaper than a regular draft, but as far as the way the win-loss records and rewards go, it's about the same. Your first 5 runs counts towards your placement on the leaderboard. So we are going to see a leaderboard, which we'll once again talk about later. So many things going back and forth all over the place. Scion Draft will run for 1 week from Friday 4/17 at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, I believe, and then to Thursday 4/23 at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's 16 UTC and 22 UTC. So those are the details. Now, we actually have a question of the week that was submitted by one of our listeners. We're going to get to at the end of this section. So we're going to talk about the prize support and some of the potential conflicting opinions that are about this event at the end of it. But right now we're going to get to the nitty gritty, what you need to know to actually perform well in this event. So the very first thing is we're going to talk about how to approach the drafting process. This is not your usual format that you're used to, where you're looking for super busted uncommons or build arounds, things like that. The overall power level has been adjusted. So some of the things we're going to talk about here, for example, every card is strong, right? We just talked about that. You're going to have a pack that has like 4 or 5 legendaries, a couple of rares and things like that. So you're not looking for the bomb because you're going to see multiple bombs. What you're looking for is cards that fill a specific role in your deck. When you're faced with things like, let's say, for example, a Tellet, a Caiphas, and a Smelt Dragon or a Zhou, right? All 3 of those are very powerful cards that can end the game. So what you're looking for is which one fits your cube better, which one fits your influence base better, which one accommodates your overall game plan, and versus just being like, oh, that's a powerful card. That's the most powerful card. I'm going to take it, because all 3 of those are very powerful cards in their own right. Removal is way more powerful and important in this format. Why? Because like we just talked about, with an increase in power level, that means that there is going to be a lot juicier targets for removal, and your opponent is going to have an easier time winning the game if you do not have answers to those threats. Remember, the early game, just because there's a bunch of powerful cards means you still have to remember your basics. You can't just sit there and snag up every 5, 6, and 7 cost unit you can get your hands on and spell, because they do busted things. You got to do something in the early game to make sure you don't die and can bridge the late game. And finally, pay very close attention to fixing, which we will talk about in a moment. So starting off with you, Alex, go ahead and break down some of the ways that you can separate and distinguish what bombs are better for your deck versus others. And even if you end up passing on a bomb and taking a less powerful card.
Well, generally, I think we'll talk about this a little bit, is like in a cube situation, or like Scion, that like they're calling it, there tends to be a little bit more synergies. There tends to be like archetypes built into the format. We kind of looked at it, guys, and like there wasn't anything that stood out as cohesive to us. I don't know if we can agree on that, but
Yes.
So like basically you're just looking for like overall power level of cards. If I was gonna approach this, which I will at least once, try to have fun. It's for fun. These are cards we don't usually have access to playing together in a limited environment. So I mean that should be fun. Just the games themselves, even if all the cards that we're picking from aren't the best options. But yeah, like trying to stay open. So factionless cards like the Caiphas, the fixing, a color that has fixing, which tends to usually be yellow. Time, I'm not sure so much with this cube if time lines up that way or not, but it leads to open up other factions for you more easily. And just like try to draft a good stuff deck. In this case, like, since there's no really synergies to be had, just try to draft the best cards that, try to draft just a good pile that and get the fixing to play your cards. That's what I would do for this event, which I'm going to do at least once. You
greedy man. Just straight up like draft all the draft as much power as you can.
Well, keep it to a couple, a few factions if you can. But I'm sure some people will try 5. It might be possible.
Some people, aka Alex.
No, yeah, not me so much. Maybe isomorphic as well. But yeah, just have fun with it.
What about you, John? What do you think?
Sorry. What's the question?
What are some of the ways that you're distinguish what cards make your deck? I'm gonna leave this in, by the way. I'm totally leaving that in.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. All right. How do I pick cards that make my deck?
So when you have something like this, right, where there's so much power in every pack, how do you distinguish between one card to the other?
Man,
if it has spell damage, I'm taking it.
No, like I think you've already kind of said it, right? Like, you're not just looking for the bombiest card out of every pack. You're looking for a deck. So I think what I'm gonna be looking mostly for is basically exactly what you said, like cards that fill a role in your deck. Like everything's gonna be powerful. That's not even a question. Like you're not gonna win. You're not going to go 7 wins or whatever if all you do is pick literally the most powerful card in every pack, because you'll never get to play any of them. You'll just roll over and die or whatever. So, I mean, you got to have some removal, you got to have some card advantage stuff, and then you got to have things that win you the game somehow. And as I'm going through, I'm not going to pick the first thing that wins me the game, and then the next pack, oh, this one's like just like that last card, only slightly better in some way, and just kind of keep doing that. No, you got to stop that at some point and actually start building your deck. It's like when we talked a minute ago about that tooth, the Bold Adventure guy, Bizarre Trickster, right? Like, yeah, like if you don't kind of make a conscious effort to pick cards like that, you're going to end up with nothing with cost under 5 in your deck, basically. Like, and then you're just going to lose and be sad. Like Alex said, you're doing this to have fun, and part of having fun is giving you the chance to win. So you're going to have a well-rounded deck coming out of here somewhere.
Well, I mean, the thing is, too, is that in Scion Draft, like, everyone's seeing these cards. So, you know the saying, if everything's powerful, then nothing's powerful. And so, yes, you're drafting some serious bustedness, but your opponent's going to have bustedness on their side of the board as well. So it's not like, oh yeah, if I just play bomb after bomb, I'll get there. And so that's something that you have to take in consideration. And yeah, sometimes it is going to be correct to pick a card that is maybe on its surface less powerful than another card in the pack, or maybe even another 2 cards in the pack, but its utility is what's going to make it more valuable in context in your deck, which something like that is, for example, an uncommon or common removal spell can easily get rid of a legendary unit. We see it all the time. So how are you going to adjust that to that and looking at removal and stuff like that, Dubmic?
You know, I'm not the limited mastermind that you 3 gentlemen are.
Why are you even on the show?
What I think it's going to come down to, when you have so many different choices of bombs in each pack, you know, it's going to come down to utility, like you said. And I also think that a particular player's play style is going to come into effect. If you're more of the aggro style player, you may not pick, you know, you may pick, you know, Caiphas over Tellet. But if you're more of a mid-rangey kind of, you know, controller guy, I could understand why you might pick Tellet over Caiphas, because, you know, it along with being the big body bomb, it does have, you know, a form of removal inside the card with it. And it's like John said, it's going to come down to who has the better, you know, air quotes, removal. You know, silence being a removal in this type of format with so many big bodies and powerful cards. You don't necessarily have to kill it if you can just shut it down.
Yeah, well put. You mentioned aggro, which is a great thing, is that to remember your early game. It's, once again, like John, everyone touched on that. It's you're going to be very inclined to pick all these bomby cards, which, let's face it, very few cards are bomby at 3 cost and below, but you still have to get through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4 until you get into that late game. And so the player that we'll look at some archetypes here in a moment, but sometimes there is aggressive decks in these Scion drafts and formats. And so you can sit here and take, oh my God, all these cards are super powerful. But if you forget your 2 and 3 drops, which are very important in regular limited, you're doubly punished for that in Scion Draft, because of the fact that cards are so powerful and there's such a higher quality card quality in decks overall. So someone can easily just go, you know, 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop on you, and all of a sudden you're at 12 or 14 life by the time you get to play your first card, and that just does not bode well for you at all, especially when most removal spells end up trading up on power. So you'll spend your whole turn 6 to play 1 card, your opponent will use a removal spell on it and still have 3 to 4 to 5 power to use to continue developing their board state and still attack you. So very critical to look at your curve when you're looking at this, and remember your 2 drops. Super important. 2 drops are almost always going to be lackluster. They're not going to be completely busted unless things like Bizarre Trickster, but it is still very important to consider those. And then, much like how Alex said, is that if you do want to try to get your 3, 4, and 5 color good stuff decks, which is perfectly all right, 100% fine, then you want to still prioritize fixing to make sure you can play your cards. A lot of these legendaries have multiple influences on them. So you're going to want to, like, for example, Clutch Keeper does require triple primal, which means you're not going to be splashing it. So things like that are something to take in consideration. If you see a card that is a bomb card, super powerful, but you look at your deck and you have 2 or 3 cards that already fit that same slot, then go ahead and pass on that legendary and take the potential fixing card, whether it's power or some card that actually goes and gets power and things like that, because that's what's going to enable you to play the majority of your deck, which is going to increase your fun overall, because you're getting to play these cards. Trust me, there's nothing worse than having a legendary in your hand and not having the power or influence to play it. All right,
True story.
That's going to do it for our broad strokes. So now we've picked out a couple of cards that we think are things that you want to be looking out for during the Scion Draft. We went and looked at the format. We'll talk about these cards, or I guess we'll talk about archetypes real quick and synergies. So, because that's kind of the broader stroke. And honestly, Alex already touched on it. Based on our best guesses, it looks like there's a little bit of light tribal support, like very light, not enough to build a deck out of. But overall, I didn't really see any synergies or archetypes that we could solidify and tell you that they're in. For example, we looked at Reanimator, and yes, there is this Grasp of Shadows, but there's only one self-mill card, so that doesn't really quite go together. There's Gunslingers, there's Totemite, but as well, we're not seeing enough that I would feel comfortable being able to, because once again, I think the entire format as a whole doesn't have enough, like maybe enough to support a third or half of a deck in that tribal, but because you are drafting against other players, there is a chance that you won't even see those cards. So I don't feel there's not an aggressive deck. I looked at the Rakano Oni deck, and it didn't, like, it feels like there's a shell for it, but not enough. So I don't know. Let's go back to you, John. Did you see anything out there that kind of stood out to you as far as like archetypes or synergies that you might want to try to go for?
Sadly, no. Like, I mean, you already said we all kind of looked on our own, and as far as I can tell, it's just critical mass of legendaries and rares, basically. I mean, there are commons and uncommons in the format, but there's not really very many. And then, like, for a lot of these potential archetypes, like in the game in general, commons and uncommons are what makes up the majority of those decks. So, like you said, there's some like Tribe Matters payoff cards and things like that, but the cards that help support archetypes like that are few and far between. And like, a lot of the more common, like literal common bread and butter cards in those archetypes just aren't even in the format. And so, like, what are the chances that you'll actually piece together any of these synergies? Like, I'm skeptical. So, like, honestly, like, I don't really think there's any major archetypes or synergies to look for here. Like, there is a very light, like, Aurelian Relics synergy in the format. It's very light. Like, I only really say that because it's one of the 2 displays they put in, and there are some support cards for that. But, like, for example, the elf that draws you a power when you play a relic isn't there. And like, Courtier. I mean, yeah, Lothric Courtier, and a lot of other cards that you would normally want in a Relics Matter deck aren't there. But they did throw in like the Consuming Greed, and then like Bottled Storm and Waystone Gate are in there. So I mean, there is something there. Other than that, I mean, I saw like big Rakano, like Valks, maybe like some. I mean, it's just like what 2 colors plus mid-range deck do you want to play? Basically, is what the format looks like to me. I mean, maybe 3 colors, maybe 4, whatever. Like, depending on the amount of fixing you prioritize while you're drafting. But as far as support, yeah, it seems like a 2 or 3 color good stuff format to me. Yeah, overall.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little sad for me personally, because I mean, I build cubes, so I think it's a lot of fun to create a format that has a little more synergy. And we know that the people developing this has the ability to devise good formats because they've done it before. I don't think it's gonna be a bad format, but you really have to lean on your fundamentals of drafting here and make sure that you are drafting a solid all-around deck with just a much higher power level. It feels like the games are going to play out more of like an arms race, you know what I mean? Like negotiating resources a little bit. So it is going to have a limited feel to it with just a pumped up power base, or power level, I should say. And I mean, I guess that opens the door, so you're not kind of like, oh, I'm the gunslinger deck, but it also kind of makes it to where it's very easy to train wreck your draft if you're not paying attention to what your deck's looking like, because you aren't going to see a synergy or a thing that kind of assists you in that path.
It also doesn't seem like there's a ton of like spot removal in general or unconditional removal. There, like, Justice has like the usual like 3 board wipes, but other than that, there's like just a handful of like silence cards like Rectifier and Valk Enforcer and things like that. And then there's like Desecrate for hard removal, right? So, I mean, yeah, you got to watch out for hard removal, because like I'm expecting to get harsh rolled basically every game or whatever. But like it's going to be like haymaker after haymaker, like an arms race until somebody manages to find their pressure valve or whatever.
Battle Cruiser Eternal.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So let me ask you guys this. In regular draft, you have a very high, potential to get 2 or 3 copies of the same card. Do you think with the higher actual power and quality of each card that is going to be a potential possibility?
Well, I was just going to bring it up. There's 473 cards, and they're all going to have the same amount of like rarity. Basically, it's like they're all commons. So you don't have any higher chance of getting any one of those cards. I guess what it does open up is we're going to see sites way more than we're used to, because they all have the same rarity as everything else. So like, I mean, you had mentioned in the pre-game show, John, about like maybe there's like a site thing you can do if you get lucky and
Well,
some sites.
Sites in particular are not balanced in the format, from what I can tell. Like they gave you 4 out of the 5 tricolor sites, skipping on Zolta Arcanum, and then they like give you the Practice Arcanum, but not Jesus Office. And then you do get the Yeti site, so like as far as the mono ones, but then like Skycrag gets 2 of the best sites in the game, and both of them are in the format.
See,
Like Garden and Peaks are there.
There you go, John. There's your deck, Skycrag.
I mean, I hope.
And see, and that's part of my concern as far as like having no supported synergies, because if, for example, if I was drafting the Scion Draft, right, and I didn't look at the deck list and I saw the Yeti site, I would assume that Yetis was an archetype, and it just isn't. Like, there's not.
No.
So you know what I mean? So it's a trap. You're taking that card and you're like, oh, cool, and so you start prioritizing Yetis, and then you're at the end of pack 2 and you're like, I have a Yeti site and 1 Yeti. What?
There's 1 Yeti.
Yeah, so.
For limited
chunk
like
or whatever,
common Yetis, and they're just not there.
Yeah. So
yeah, like that being in the format, it's just like, there you go, like that raises a lot of questions right there.
Yeah, so
like, it's literally a trap.
Yep. So take that away from this portion of it, is that don't worry about synergies or specific archetypes. Just draft a deck that is fun, like playing the cards that you want to play, and well-rounded, which we've talked about on the show plenty of times. So let's go ahead and move on to the specific card breakdown that we're going to talk about. And this is, like, for example, the first one I have on here is Display of Honor. So these cards are cards that I would put slightly above your average card in Scion Draft, because the overall utility in this kind of a format is maximized. And so this is, if you're kind of deciding on what kind of, between this bomb and this bomb and this bomb, this kind of helps you guide you a little bit and give you a little bit of a teetering in one direction or the other. Granted, in a vacuum, there's still context based on, it might not fit your colors, whatever. So this was the first sign actually to let me know that I don't know how much thought they put into this exact format, because there's literally only 2 displays. So it's not even a cycle. It's just Display of Honor and Display of Knowledge are in here. So
2 of the more powerful ones.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly why Display of Honor is on here. I think this card is extremely powerful. The grab 2 weapons from your void mode is not, it's pretty much almost going to be not a thing in this at all. But the ability to give one of your units +4/+4 in lifesteal is going to be huge. Like, that's a giant life swing, or life swing if you put it on any of your medium to large size units. Heaven forbid it should also win you combat, but if you hit face with it, like, that's not too bad either. The other thing is the mode where it makes it transforms unit into a 2/1. This is very similar to the Bizarre Trickster effect, where you're essentially cutting off, like, for example, if your opponent plays Avara, Fate Touched, right, where they can start bringing back or recurring from their void, you can just turn it into a 2/1 go, and that's the end of it, and it's out of the game. So it's very efficient removal in this format. Next up we have,
maybe the best spot removal in the format.
Yeah, because it doesn't care about color or anything either. So yeah,
and like Desecrate deals you 3 damage when you do it. Like,
next up we have Caiphas,
and at fast speed.
Yeah, there you go. It's super important. Granted, it is restrictive with the fact that you have to be tricolor. You have to be an honor, which is Fire, Justice, Primal. So that is some consideration. But once again, much like Alex said, that there is going to be some fixing. So if you prioritize that, you will be able to play it. And of course, if you end up being in that tricolor faction from the get-go, then hey, awesome. We talked about
this is one of the few combat tricks even in the format too. It's like one of the only ones to watch out for.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a very interesting format for sure. I'm excited for that regards. All right, already talked about Caiphas. Next up, I have a Blade Crafter and Dragon Forge, which honestly, after looking at the rest of the format, I'm kind of a little bit lower on them. But the reason why I told them to kind of keep an eye out is because these are essentially tutor effects, which allow you to search out a card from your library or your deck and put it into your hand, which in limited, it essentially acts like a pseudo second copy of whatever card. So for example, should you pick up a super awesome dragon, right? That you want to see as many games as possible. Having a Dragon Forge, picking that up essentially gives you a second copy of that dragon because you're able to go find it and put it into your hand. So granted, it is a cost, the tempo loss and whatnot, but those cards, so that's what makes Blade Crafter and Dragon Forge a slightly higher pick, as well as the fact that they can tutor up a specific card in your deck. Do anyone have anything to add on that one?
Nope.
All right, easy enough. Totem Pioneer, we've already seen it wreak havoc in this format, in the current draft format. So I think it's just as strong here. It's a 2-drop that you can play at any point in the curve and just absolutely can win the game on its own. And anytime your opponent, much like John had talked about, there's very little removal in this format. So if your opponent is going to burn a removal spell on a 2-drop, then you are doing pretty good. So yeah, keep an eye out for Totem Pioneer. I think it turns any single card, any unit you have into a threat, and any potential bomb into a bombier bomb, a nitro bomb. So yeah.
Yeah, you can look for power sinks. That's a real good one.
Yeah, that very good point as well, is the fact that you could just keep activating it multiple times in a turn. John, can you cover our time units?
Yeah, some notable ones there are Throne All-Star cards, Pride Leader. The ability to ambush a smaller unit while gaining some life and possibly just eating them is always a good thing in constructed or limited. And then this thing just kills a relic on its way in too, which in a high powered format like this, people are going to be trying to play some busted relics. Like, you can guarantee that. Kind of how people are prioritizing playing cards like Disjunction right now in our current draft format. It's going to make it's why Pride Leader is going to be such a sweet card to have in your deck. And then Sandstorm Titan, I think it'll be about as good as it is in Throne here. It'll shut down a lot of the smaller flyers, which some people are going to be doing as their strategy. But it's not a bomb in and of itself. Like, there's going to be a lot of cards that are just going bigger and better than this, higher up the curve. So I don't think the Titan will shine quite as good as it does in normal constructed as it will here, but I think it'll still be a solid inclusion. Like, its stats are very aggressively. It's aggressively statted for its cost.
It's a must answer 4-drop.
Yeah. I mean, there's people are going to be playing plenty of 5, 6, 7s, whatever, with bigger stats. So it is going to not just swing with impunity against your average deck like it might in Throne. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of lower to the ground decks here. So Pride Leader and Sandstorm Titan's normal best case is against aggro, and I just don't think there's going to be a ton of aggro, but I think they'll still be useful cards here.
Okay. Next up, we have Justice, and much like what Alex said, that yep, this is where your board wipes are. We have End of the Story, Harsh Rule, and Shinra Speaks are all in this format, so that is something to consider. If you see your opponent playing heavy Justice, you are most likely safe to assume that they are going to have one of the 3 or multiple board wipes in their deck, and that is something to consider. You definitely don't want to run out all your cards and get blown out by it. Dubmic, you want to talk about our last 2 green cards to watch?
Absolutely. Inquisitor's Blade, that's actually one of my personal favorites of all time. I think the ability to continuously recur a evasive ability with a pump effect can be very, very crucial to your game. You know, like John was saying, you know, not a lot of loaded ground. So having that continuous, you know, rolling over if they do remove your unit, the potential to get it back, you know, inside of a few turns, I think is very key. Valkyrie Enforcer, I mean, that just goes back to what we were talking about earlier about Bizarre Trickster. It's not, you know, on a stick, but the fact of getting a 3/3 body with an evasive flying ability and being able to potentially shut down a very, you know, big threat from your opponent will be something that is definitely key to look for.
Yeah, exactly. Hit the nail on the head. Real quick, just for our listeners, I'm sure a lot of people know Valkyrie Enforcer, but Inquisitor's Blade is the 4 justice +3/+1 weapon that gives
3/1.
It gives a unit flying, and then it also has destiny. Revenge. So if they manage to kill the unit without silencing it, the Inquisitor Blade will go back into your deck and have destiny activated. So yeah, both those cards are great. Moving on to, do you have something to say? Anyone? I heard somebody.
It's like it doesn't technically have revenge, but it works as if it does.
Oh, it doesn't say it? I'm so used to it. But
yeah, because of the way weapons work, like what it would do if it had actual revenge is it would give the unit revenge, and then the unit would go in the deck instead of the weapon.
Okay, got you.
So it like is worded very. It's like the only card worded like that in the game. It's kind of funny.
Well,
but it basically
also,
has revenge.
Also, which makes it a little better than revenge, is when something gets revenge and goes destiny, you get it once. This continually goes back over and over. Except if you don't have a unit when it pops back out.
Right. That's the fail case for this.
Okay.
Very good, limited. Very good card.
All right. So the primal ones are a little awkward. I left question marks on all these, and you guys can throw some feedback on me. I wrote down Messenger Hawk because it is essentially a 0/1 flyer for 1, but it puts 4 copies of a card in your hand. In their copies, so you still keep the one in your hand into your deck. And so with a 45 card deck, if you have a really busted card, for example, let's go back to Caiphas, putting 4 additional Caiphases in your deck, Caiphases, I don't know,
Whoa.
can be extremely powerful. So I don't know, I feel like this may be an inclusion if you feel like you have a card that's extremely busted. But I don't know. What do you think, John?
That's spicy. No, I think that's a thing. Yeah, I'm down to try it.
I don't think that Messenger Hawk should have a question mark next to it at all. I think if you're going primal, that is almost an auto include for primal in this draft.
Yeah, especially if you can get 4 of the next card on the list, that would be just bonkers.
Yep, which is Lethrai Soothsayer. This is a 2/4 flyer for 4 primal, right, John? I believe.
Yeah,
I think
1 primal.
I think it's just 1 primal.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
wow, but it is a 4-drop, right? I know. I need to load up.
Yeah.
So John, it has onslaught. If it was trigger, or when it comes to the play, if you attack that turn, you put 5 premonition. Oh man, I'm just gonna look up the card. I'll mute.
Is it 7 premonition bolts?
You put 7 premonition bolts.
Oh my god! And
it's 7.
Okay, yeah, and then 7 is the bolt
yeah,
is
I played this card a lot.
it's a 0.
For limited, it's bonkers.
Yeah, so it's a 0 costed deal 3 damage spell, and it has warp, so you can play it off the top of your deck. This card I think is extremely good because in a 45 card deck, by the time you play it, you've already seen roughly about 10 cards between your opening hand and the cards you've drawn. So now you only have 35 cards left, and you just put 7 bolts in there for free. Like this card, I think it's personally good, but I don't know. While I'm getting it up on screen as well as the next one, John, or actually Alex, you know what the card does. Good. Let's go ahead and talk about Soothsayer a little bit.
I mean, like, it's not uncommon to get a bolt off the top after you put them in your deck. When the deck is small like that. Yeah, it's just a great card. 2/4 flyer on its own. It pretty much holds its weight, and then it does a ridiculous ability. And like, yeah, if you can make 4 of them with your Messenger Hawk, that just looks fun. Try to do stuff like that, and they're all going to be the same rarity, so you have like a good chance of like seeing all these cards. You know?
Yeah, which is exactly what makes Scion drafting so much fun, you know, is the fact that you are going to be able to do some really bonkers stuff with cards that you normally wouldn't see.
Yeah, like some of these cards we're talking about are campaign cards and things, right? Like literally have never been able to try these in limited before, with the exception of Jedi's cubes.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Yeah, the fact that the campaign cards, because obviously they are behind a paywall, it's kind of defeats the purpose of them having in a free draft. Yeah, this is the first time you'll be able to play with them.
Yeah, we just mentioned Inquisitor's Blade, and I was like, yeah, it's really good and limited. The only reason I know that is because I've played it in cube drafts like multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Next,
I can confirm it is very good and limited.
Next up, we have End Hostilities. This one is the 6 Primal warp card at slow speed, slow spell. Play a copy of a unit. Tribute. So if one of your units died this turn, it's one of your units, right? Yeah, one of your units died this turn. Play 2 copies of that instead. This card, I think, it's a little situational, right? Because you have to have something in play that you want to copy. But of note, it doesn't have to be one of your units. So if your opponent plays a bomb and then you run your whatever random unit into it and they kill it, or you have some kind of sack effect like Carver and you play this, all of a sudden now you have 2 of their, heaven forbid you should combo this with a removal spell, copy their best unit and then kill it. So yeah, I don't know. I think this card is slightly better in a Scion draft because the overall unit quality is a lot better. So I don't know. What do you think, Dub?
Heaven forbid you swing and they kill your unit and then you double copy their soothsayer.
Yeah, that seems to work pretty good. So
sign me up.
Yeah, I think that's
Let's put 14 bolts in my deck. I mean, that's no downside there.
That's a lot of bolts.
So many bolts. You just machine gun them down.
Yeah, you can just kill somebody like that.
All right. And then the last primal card, which is as well another campaign card, is Lice or Lice. It can't be Lice. We'll go with Lice. I don't remember what her name was in the campaign. Champion of Lindright. Lice? Was it Lice? Okay, I could go with Lice. This is the 6/6 for 6 triple primal mage. And at the end of your turn, the player of your choice discards their hand, then draws that many cards. Once again, going back to the limited thing, 45 card deck. This is broken. I can see Lice completely milling out your opponent. If you have nothing but you have her in your deck, so you keep a couple of sigils in hand, you play her, the first time you activate her, you target you, so you draw gas, and then the rest of you just keep targeting your opponent. Now they're in this awkward spot where they want to try to play their entire hand, or you're going to mill them out. Heaven forbid they're keeping 5 or 6 cards, you're milling 5 or 6 cards a turn. And
yeah, this is one like another campaign card. So normally we wouldn't have any experience with this. I had a little experience with this yesterday in one of these Delef duels. Which I mean, I guess is not exactly limited. Anyway, like I was dead so fast to this card. Like this will be broken in this format for sure.
So we talked about Bizarre Trickster being, once again, not only a silence effect, but also a silence effect on a unit. One of the shadow cards that has stood out to me because I've added to several of my cubes is the Venom Spine Hydra. This is a 7/7 Hydra for 7 double shadow. So you're, fine. But the icing on the cake here is Entomb. So when Venom Spine Hydra dies, kill all enemy units. So here we're looking at a giant beater that your opponent needs to answer. And if they do, it potentially wipes their board. So this card poses quite an interesting decision for your opponent. And we're kind of doubling up, right? We're doubling up on a board wipe and an efficient, or not efficient, but just an effective threat. So this is why I like this card. Either any of you guys have had experience with that card?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, in cube.
Yeah, it's strong, very strong. All right. Going back, this is a limited all-star that just, I think, once again, because of the overall card quality, is extremely powerful. Alex, why don't you talk about Immortalize?
Here's an example of a common that you very well might like in your deck. It's going to give you recursion, with Exalted. It's a 2 and a shadow, fast spell. Bring back any unit from your void to your hand. all the units you'd be bringing back are broken. So in a format like this, an Immortalize even jumps up in value. And yeah, you can consider that a pretty high pick as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think it may be one of the most important cards in the format, to be honest.
There you go.
I can believe that. And the last one rounding it out, the above average, is Vara Fate Touch, which is the 8-cost Scion Vara. We don't need to get in that much.
Scion.
Yeah.
There you go.
We don't have to get too into depth on this one. It just, long story short, anytime you play her or another shadow unit, you get a shadow unit back from your void. There's recursion. She's awesome. Pick her up if you can, if you're in shadow.
Yeah. We all have experience with this card, I'm sure.
Yep. Another one is Call of the Agents. This is a... why is it not coming up? That's weird. I wonder if I spelled it incorrectly. Anyway, it's a Elysian. Is it 1 cost or 2 cost spell?
It might be just Call the Ancients, not Call of.
Oh yeah, you might be right. Let's see. Let's find out. I just want to get on screen. But yeah, it's it puts, long story short, it puts 4. Yeah, okay, you're right. It's just Call the Agent. It puts 4 6/6 Titans with Aegis and Endurance into your deck. So
they each cost 2.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you get,
no big
you
deal.
get a 6/6 for 2. So in limited, when there's limited removal, even in a Scion draft, like, these guys are going to do some serious work. So yep, keep a lookout.
Yeah, Aegis is very powerful in a format like this.
Yep. Heaven forbid. I didn't see if there was reread in the format, but you can do this a couple of times, or, well, shoot, you can. Is Messenger Hawk just units, or is it's cards, right? It's cards.
I think it's cards.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you just keep casting cards.
Yeah, any card.
Now,
and the
y'all
site is also in the format that plays this card. The Explorer site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tavrod's Trading Post.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
just answer my question, John.
Oh yeah.
Azendel revealed. Yep, that's another great, super powerful card. Even if you can't reanimate it, like, just playing him and having a couple of units on the board does a lot of work. The 2 wisps have deadly, so they can stabilize you, if not draw you cards. So that one's a very high pick. Macdo, for much like the Inquisitor's Blade, which happens to be Macdo's Blade, he just keeps coming back. So unless your opponent was smart enough to pack some kind of silence effect, they would be, I mean, granted, much like what John said earlier, is there's going to be a lot more powerful units, so there is a chance for Macdo to get outclassed. But the simple fact that he just continuously comes back means it is going to have to be a bit of an issue for your opponent.
Yeah, the removal tax is a big deal. Like, yeah, they might have their 1 removal for the first Macto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, same with that's why Aegis is so good too. It's like one of the scarcest, most important resources you'll have is your removal in this format.
Yep.
And speaking on that, when I actually saw this list, Palace is one of the ones that I really wanted to talk about, because probably a good 80% or more of these bombs are going to be 4 or more attack. So they're going to get Aegis if you have Palace in play, which is a huge bonus against any kind of removal, silence effects, anything like that.
Yeah.
Yep, which leads us to the sites. So, John, clean us up. I personally think that Korova Palace and Howling Peaks are the 2 strongest ones and the ones that really stand out over the other sites. But go ahead and break down the sites real quick for us, and that would be the last specific card we talk about as far as ones to look out for.
Yeah, I think I already mentioned all the ones in the format.
Mm-hmm.
Just in passing earlier. I think I don't know if it's just personal bias, but I mean, Garden is such a good site too. Like, it kills a unit. It does a tutor effect, which we mentioned already earlier in the card breakdowns, like tutoring, and it basically adds a second copy of your most powerful card into your deck, which in limited is huge. Like, basically in most of these sites, you just want to look out for especially the ones that are especially good can protect themselves. Some of them are still good if they can't, like we just mentioned trading posts. Like, if you can get a trading post out early in the game, that's going to be a hard to lose game a lot of times in limited, at least in my experience with it. That one's pretty unassuming, really, like the power level. But like you just mentioned, that one card, Call the Ancients, that can just win you the game. Like, if you get that out on turn 2 like that. And then what are there? Like most of the tricolor sites are in, with the exception of
Arcanum,
like we said. So like those ones are kind of medium, I guess. They're like harder to cast, and like they don't protect themselves as well, and the payoffs for at least the den is about as good as you get. But that one, you got to like, some of those you're going for the payoff more than like the modes on the site, like den there. But like for a site like that, your deck has to be like pretty control-y and just able, like, your goal there would be to just protect the site, and then the payoff from the site is what you're really going for. Like the site itself is not that powerful, and honestly, den can even be a bit of a liability, like, because you have to play the end is near, which if you then don't get your unit out, like, you may have just ruined your whole game plan for the rest of the game. Like, you gotta be a little careful with things like that, I guess. But yeah, some powerful sites in the format, and some not as powerful. Like, they're definitely not all, like, don't just slam, windmill slam any site you see, right?
Yeah, you still have to have the deck to accommodate it for sure, especially based on the agenda. The agenda can really dictate whether it should go in your deck or not.
Yeah, and then I think Flood Rocks just don't even bother with that one, for example.
Unless you want to, unless maybe your opponent hasn't read the deck or the format, so they might prioritize it for a turn. Maybe, I don't know.
Right? And here's one that never sees play, that might be a standout in the format, is that Bastion of the Dawn. Because like its flavor text is your units can't be silenced. And so that one might actually be better than it's ever been in this format. The rest of them will probably be about as good as you'd expect.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, and then if you have a better legendary in your hand, making a copy of it isn't horrible.
Yeah, Twinning Ritual. I mean, yeah. If they, literally, like, that site might actually be quite good here.
All right.
Hilariously.
Well, that's going to do it for that breakdown. Overall, long story short, guys, is just have fun with the event. It's another great event that you could try and just see a different format. If you like Limited, I definitely encourage you to try it. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't, if you have been on our cube drafts every week, then you kind of already know, and you can make your own decision. But yeah, I hope you have a good time. Let us know. Join the Discord. Let us know. If post screenshots of your deck list. We'd absolutely love to see them and talk about, why you chose certain cards over others and things like that. I think that's one of the best things about Limited. But like I mentioned or foreshadowed earlier, is that we have a question of the week. This one is brought to us by Sakarnan, aka Darthenos, aka Saka, and they redeemed the midichlorians from viewing my channel, being a loyal follower and viewer, and
aka cool dude.
Yeah, the coolest. And so Sakarnan asks, what do you think would have been a more fair price for the Scion Draft event? If the price is fine, what should the rewards have been? Context for the question is that I kind of think it's fair, maybe a tiny bit pricey, but I've actually been surprised by how many people weren't a fan of the event for whatever reason, some of which were discussed in chat today on Twitch. So, and yeah, that pretty much puts it into context. I think a lot of people, granted, I'll admit, as a podcast, we became a slightly bit lower on the event once we actually broke down the cards and saw, like, I mean, I guess to be blunt, the lack of depth in the format, if that makes sense. Like, we kind of all just feel like
you mentioned it a lot. Like, one of the more fun things about Cube is building the cube and making it, synergize and things like that. And it seems like they skipped that part.
Yeah, so we're as a group a little bit lower on the event. That being said, all three of us are still going to do it. So let me go ahead and put that out there right now, is that because we did have a long discussion about this on the stream, and I think there's no wrong answer. So I'm excited for this event. I'm going to do it. I believe John and Alex both expressed that they are going to do the event once, maybe twice, and that's it, and that's perfectly fine. And then we had people on stream say that they were going to not do the event at all because of the pricing or the return on investment, et cetera, et cetera. for people like myself and Cassandrith, a fellow streamer, and he's been on the show, is that we actually enjoy the drafting process, the building the decks, and playing the game. So that is where we get our value from. That being said, I do respect the return on investment you get from actual packs and gold and chests and things like that. So I can respect that. So I think both sides of the coin are correct. I think you should participate in this event if you enjoy it and you want to tell, kind of put your money where your mouth is, quote unquote, to express to Direwolf that this is a good event and they should do more of it. The flip side of that, I respect that 100% as well, is that if you don't think the rewards is well, boycotting it is a good way to be heard by Direwolf, to know like, okay, well, only X amount of people may, join this event. What went wrong? And I do think that sends a message as well that I support you doing, because you have to, we're all here to make the game better together. And I think Direwolf has done a pretty good job of actually listening to the community and make things happen. Sometimes the timing of things is a little off, a little late, a little early, but I do think they do listen to the community. And so I do encourage everyone to do what you think is best for you and what will bring the most joy to you. But I will say that a lot of the disagreements have come from the rewards for the specific event versus the actual event itself. Dubmic, I apologize. Before I jump into this, do you have anything else to add on that? Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I do think that it's a little pricey as far as, or maybe not a little. I think the price is okay. I think the reward should be a little better. But I kind of view it from the same view that you and Cass do. It's this type of event isn't really about the prize support necessarily, but the actual thrill of being involved in the type of format that it's going to be.
Oh, awesome. I just wanted to make sure that you had your say. I didn't want to neglect you. The one thing I will say, before we jump into the prizes, is that personally I think that the event is a little more expensive than it should be, because it is a phantom draft. So you're going to see the cards and they're going to go away. I would have liked to see it, maybe, I think I would have been comfortable with it being half of what a regular draft is. That being said, it's just slightly over. A regular draft is 500 gems and 5,000 gold, and this is 300 gems and 4,000 gold. I think I would have been comfortable with 250 gems and 2,500 gold personally, but to each their own, and that's fine. But I think the fact that we're not getting anything out of the actual, as far as physical cards, once again, you're getting enjoyment, but if you're not getting any, and I guess digital cards, not even physical cards, oh my god, Inception, so many layers. I think it would have been good being exactly half of a full thing, or I guess they could have done it as a free event or super cheap and then made like no prizes. I think that would have been fine as well. And then you're literally just playing for the experience. All right. That being said,
free with the prizes,
Yeah. Okay. So for the leaderboard, that's the one that's going to go put together your overall record, much like a tournament. This one I straight up think is super weak sauce. If you are rank 1, you get 3 gold chests. 2 through 10 get 1 gold chest with 2 silver chests. 11 through 100 gets 3 silver chests, and 101 and down, everybody else gets 2 silver chests. So I get it, these are additional rewards, so it's kind of a bonus, but man, like some people are super competitive, and someone that goes like, for example, I don't know, whatever, it's the top 5, right? Your first 5 runs. What was it? First 5 runs.
Yeah, five runs.
5.
Yeah, so if you go 35 wins and undefeated, you get 3. Like, it just, the leaderboard thing, don't even worry about that.
You get the smallest of fraction of your gold returned to you.
Yeah, so don't even worry about the leaderboard. The leaderboard 100% is just bragging rights at this point. Let's go into the actual run rewards, which is a more likely what more people are. So right off the bat, and I think this is why they priced it the way they did. If you go 0-3, if you literally just first Scion Draft, and you just get wrecked, you go 0-3, you get 3 packs. So you essentially get your money back, because obviously 100 gold is what you pay to get a pack out of the store.
1,000 gold.
1,000 gold.
Or I'm sorry, 100 gems. I'm sorry, 100 gems and 1,000 gold. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't really be doing. Please don't be doing that.
Yeah, please just draft. We will be revisiting how to be efficient on this. But if you can't wait, definitely go back. I think it's like episode 7 that you need to check out of the podcast. But anywho, I digress. 1 win, 4 packs. 2 wins, 4 packs, 1 rare. 3 wins, 4 packs, 1 premium rare. 4 wins, 5 packs, 1 premium rare. 5 wins, 5 packs, 1 premium rare, 1 rare. 6 wins, 6 packs, 1 premium rare, 1 rare, and 7 wins, 6 packs, 2 premium rares. All right. Alex, how do you want to break this down, buddy? Like, do you have anything to add on this? I mean, I guess kind of not, because you don't even do constructed, so you really don't care about any of this, do you?
No, and I'm like, so the way I look at it is like, how many drafts does this cost me, or like, how much am I winning back as a potential investment in the future, which would be a draft, and like I'm not getting any towards that.
Yeah, 0.
Like, unless I totally spike the leaderboard and get my 3 gold chests, which is like not even close to a draft. So it's like, it's really, for me personally, it's do it just for the fun of the games, because the packs and rares is like whatever to me.
Yeah,
like could it be one of the rares that are in this pool, or like is it going to be a random? You're going to get like a random premium rare that just is not a good card. You know, it's like right. It's just, it is what it is.
You did bring up a very good point, and I think that's something that we should talk about real quick. If it is just the biggest thing that does it. So pack wise, right, for those that play constructed, and if we're counting rares and stuff, then you're doing okay. You're not doing great, but you're doing okay, right? Because if you go 7 wins, you get a total of potentially 8 rares, right? So that's something. And the 2 premium rares means that they translate directly into 2 rares for your collection or whatever. You could just dust them and then get 2 regular rares. But the fact, much like what Alex said exactly, is the fact that we're not getting any kind of gold from this means that there's no like go infinite potential, right? And so I think that's probably one of the biggest handicaps of this prize support structure, is the fact that it doesn't really encourage you to draft again, versus when you're playing regular draft and you're like, hey, if you win the draft, you know, 3 platinum chests is typically enough to draft again for free. You're like, well, if I draft for free, sure, let me draft. Versus this one, if you go 7 wins, like you have no extra gold. And
the wins don't give you anything towards playing even another one of these drafts, you know? So yeah, I mean, it's a little wonky, isn't it? I don't know. It seems weird, but
No, it's completely par for the course for the other weekend events they do is the thing. But I skip all those because of the reasons we just mentioned. Normally, I am going to play this at least once because I do think I will actually just have fun with it. Like, the thing is with those other events is I don't even really enjoy it. You know, like there's some gimmick or whatever. I'm over it before I even start playing my usually.
Gotcha.
Like this one, like even though I like you said, we went through all the cards and we're kind of like, you know, our expectations have been officially tempered.
You were raging, dude.
I was getting a little mad when the more I went into it, I realized that they really did not curate the format from what I can tell, which is unfortunate, but I'm still going to try it at least once. It's, you know, it's not a huge money sink. I'm not doing it for any of these rewards. Like Alex just said, like one of my favorite things about drafting in this game is I like get my next draft for free when I do well, you know, like I'm basically a free to play player. Like, I have given them some money, but for the most part, I pay for stuff with gold, and this is just a gold sink. Now, if I play my first run and it's just like a blast, I'll consider doing it more, definitely. But I don't know. This kind of thing is not normally what I'm interested in playing the game for.
Okay.
These weekend events, but this one did pique my interest.
Fair. I will say that I am going to be recording some of my games and posting them on YouTube, or some of my drafts and posting them on YouTube. So if you want to test it out and experience it vicariously through me, you can check that out and make your decision. To round.
Take your pack one, pick ones too. Those will be fun to analyze for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I might actually just do another article and just screenshot the whole thing. Do another just do a Scion Draft article, maybe.
It is going to be up for a week, so I mean, if you can get it out in a few days or whatever, it'll be timely.
Yeah.
it'll help some people, surely.
All right, so finally closing off this topic, Dubmic, being a more constructed than limited player, how do you feel about the reward system?
I think they could have done. I mean, I agree with you. The leaderboard is, as John would say, is just whack. I mean, it's a joke. The actual wins on a run, I mean, it's not horrible. I think for you to, looking at it from the constructed mind view, you've got to win 4 or 5 for it to be worth it to me. Because you don't want just your money back as far as pack wise. You want that bonus. It's got to be worth it. So getting to about 5 and being able to get 7 rares for the 300, that's not horrible. But that would probably be what I would gun for.
Okay.
All right, nice, excellent. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our Scion Draft. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below or on Discord or on stream or however you want to if you're going to do it and why. Well, that leads us to our What's the Play this week. What's the Play is brought to you by none other than Darth Herman 2, a.k.a. Alex. So, let's break it down. Alex is creation. His opponent is ambition. They have 2 power up, 2 of 5. Alex has 5 of 5. Opponent's at 13 life. Alex is at 23 life. And the board state is as follows. Opponent has a 2/2 Bladecrafter, a 6/6 Dancing Flame, and a 2/3 Argentport Vigilante with Warcry and Flying. Alex has a 3/4 Platinum Kieran, a 3/2 Overwhelm Shardbinder, and a 2/1 Flying Exalted Split Tail, right? Twin Tail? What was? I never remember. Anyways, tail something.
The 2/1
Long tail.
Long tail.
Cavalry.
Thank you.
Long tail cavalry. There you
Long
go.
tail. It was long tail.
Thank you, John.
I was gonna let that go for just another second.
You're like, I'm gonna let these guys do that.
It's cool. That's exactly why I'm gonna leave in that earlier.
By the way, rooftop vigilante.
Rooftop.
Just,
all right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't mind. It's all good, dude. I don't have all these cards memorized. That's the misplay thing.
I do for some reason.
Then you and LSV can do the Stump Vargas thing. That's fine.
Sweet.
Anywho, in hand, Alex has a Peacekeeper's Helm, the +1/+2 weapon for 1 justice, and then you could pay 4 to, right? That seems expensive. Wait, is it?
It is.
Oh, it is 4.
It's 1
that's
+ 4. Yeah.
Wow, that's so weird. Normally interesting.
Yeah, this one's a little weird for spellcraft.
I knew it was 5, but I never, for some reason, it never clicked in my head that it was a 1/4 split. Anywho, play Rebuke on a unit. The 1/4 War Painter for 3 fire, Eternity Core for 4, and a Cinder Matoda for 4, the 0/4. So, Dub, you're the guest, so we'll start with you. What's your play here?
So I've been looking at this, and I think there's a couple different ways to go, but more than likely, I would probably throw the helm to the Exalter and rebuke the flame, and swing with the Kieran and the Exalter, and just keep coming at him in the air. You're going to get 2 turns free of 6 in the air, and you're going to force that block. Because if they don't block, they die. And you really don't have much else in hand that can cause a stir this turn or next turn. And not knowing what you're going to draw, I think for right now, that's probably the best play.
Okay. John, what about you?
I like Dubmic's line almost exactly. I think because your opponent's not playing time, that means it's pretty much completely safe to stack things on your Exalted guy here. So yeah, Peacekeeper Helm definitely going on the 2/1 Exalted, and then yeah, stunning their one good attacker / blocker. I think the only difference is I would also just get in there with the Shardbinder here, just to apply maximum pressure. Because I remember I asked Alex about this before, and he doesn't really have any particular Shardbinder synergies like coming up or anything that he's saving it for. So it's, might as well just get in there for either trade with his flyer or get in one more point of chip damage while you're racing here. And then like if he does end up trading with that 2/2 Bladecrafter, then like what's the opponent going to do, right? Like if they play a undepleted power next turn, they have to spend their entire turn sacrificing that guy and drawing a weapon, and then they don't play another blocker in that case. Like, so yeah, I'm just getting even more aggressive and swinging with the whole crew here.
Okay. I it's kind of weird because I definitely think we silence here, but I actually think I might have put the Peacekeeper Helm, and this is going to be a slightly unpopular play, but maybe not. Maybe because the thing is that we put him on a 3-turn clock regardless, right? If we put the weapon on the cavalry, silence. Oh no, you guys are actually silencing or stunning the 6/6, and we swing, right? Yeah, and that's fine because either way, you have two guys that trade or that have really bad blocks, like they're chump blocking with the Vigilante. But the problem is they go from 13 to 7, from 7 to 1, and then so it's still a 3-turn clock. So I actually wonder, maybe I think I would maybe Peacekeeper Helm the I'm trying to think if I would do it on the Kieran or the Shardbinder, and then rebuke the flyer and just get it in the air, leaving the cavalry back. So if they attack, then you can give the Shardbinder flying. You know what I mean? Like
that was my first line when I was watching Alex play this live. Like that was my initial thought, and then the only reason I changed my mind quickly was kind of like I mentioned a minute ago. Like the opponent here is not on time, so I was like, well, in that case, let's just suit up this Exalted guy all the way, like without a care in the world. That was my line of thinking there. Like your kind of line of thinking was where my brain initially went here.
And there's also the consideration of the fact that you have Cinder Maw Toda as well, so you have another chump blocker on the ground. Yeah, I'm trying to think because obviously they have 2 power-ups, so Seer and not Conflagrate, right? Conflagrate's gone, so it's just Seer.
Right.
So Seer's still in the format. And the problem with that as well is the fact that it kind of opens you up to where a Cindermont or a dragon next turn kind of stops that game plan. You know what I mean? So that's why I do think it's correct to play the Helm this turn. But I'm like I said, I'm wondering if maybe you just throw it on the Kieran. You know what I mean? And then swing in with that. If they get rid of that, you can always put the Exalted weapon on the Shardbinder. I'm not sure. Because I do sometimes when I'm making plays like that, I do consider what they could potentially do next turn. And I mean, once again, their ambition with on 5. And
they've already fetched some kind of weapon they have played.
Yeah. So you also are in that position where you kind of have to race against potential hook sword as well. So it's interesting. It depends what line you want to go on. Alex, what line did you? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
You just mentioned hook sword. Like the clock is so short here, that I don't like if they did fetch hook sword, that's basically good for you, right? Like,
yeah, that would lead me to put the Peacekeeper Helm on the Exalted unit though, and then but still instead of stunning the 6/6, still stunning the Vigilante. So you for sure get in for 6 this turn, and they have to play a flyer or a removal spell to stop taking 6 the next turn. So yeah, I think I'd probably do that actually. And then that way, because obviously putting the Helm on the Kieran, it avoids a lot of things and lets it attack through a lot of things, but it still will die to hook sword. So yeah, there's definitely a consideration for both arguments there, but
like there's also the chance that it's not a hook sword, it's a magma javelin, which helps your case a little bit, because that, you know, the Kieran would be out of magma javelin range. And then as well, if it was
I don't think
if it was the 5-2 weapon, it would be out of that range as well. It's like those are the two other most likely things that they fetched probably here.
see, and I don't. Alex, do you remember if they played the 6/6 or they played the Vigilante here?
The 6/6 was already out.
Okay, so see, to me, then I would actually rule out both the Magma Javelin and the Dragon Blade because of the fact that I feel like they would have they played 3 of their power last turn, so it had to be the Vigilante. Oh yeah, I was just assuming that maybe the Dancing Flame was 3 cost, but obviously it would have been not because it's a 6/6. Anywho,
Right.
So if they had gotten Magma Javelin, the Kieran was still a 3/4. So I feel like they would have played it instead of taking the damage. You know what I mean? Like just get that thing out, because Magma Javelin, you're gonna be taking the damage regardless. So you might as well kill the unit you're gonna kill as soon as possible. So that makes me feel.
Another thing you just mentioned that we hadn't talked about yet was like the fact that I guess so both of y'all have been stuck on power for at least one turn, right? Because the 6/6 came out a turn prior, and so that would have been a 5 power turn. So if they did pull like you just kind of ruled out those 2 weapons while at the same time ruling in like a hooked sword, or it could even be like a weapon that goes on the unit like a warhorn or something. So like if it is
or
hooked
Rubbler.
sword, yeah, or a rubbler. Either way, like they're already showing that they're stuck on power too.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, I think I would be just okay either chumping or taking 6 from the Dancing Flame this turn, then dropping the Totem next turn, and just making sure that like I'm capitalizing on that and just taking out the position for a block in the air. I think I would rather stun and silence the flyer. Plus, there's also the argument that if they do play the weapon, then Vigilante gives everything deadly, and that makes it tougher to block, etc., etc. So, what'd you end up doing, Alex?
So I put the helm on the 2/1 and stunned the 6/6, and then I didn't ace space. I attacked only with the flyers. And now looking at it, I should have ace space, because if he doesn't block, or if he blocks with just the 2/2, or if he double blocks, I can get rid of the flyer then, and then my flyers can get in freely. And basically, I don't need to be afraid of what he's going to get with 6 taking off his whole turn to get a weapon back. So I should have ace space, but I just attacked with the 2 flyers. In hindsight, I guess, I mean, if you want to play conservative here, you can swing with just the 3/4, play your 0/4, and then hold back, you know? But I decided to get aggressive, or at least mostly aggressive, since I didn't ace space. But yeah.
No, I like it. I like it. All right, cool. So that's our what's the play for this week. Appreciate you guys' opinion. Once again, everyone listening is always more than welcome to give us your 2 cents in the comments below. Really appreciate it. Okay, that leads us to our final segment, which is the Constructed Corner, which is exactly why we have Dubmic on the show. Dubmic managed to pilot a StoneScar Aggro deck to a top 16 finish in the recent Spring QCP Challenge event tournament thing. So I'm going to break down the deck very quick, and then Dubmic, you can take it away. So 4 Blazing Salvo, 4 Suffocate, 4 Torch, 4 Annihilate. Oh, it's so sweet when a deck's nothing but 4 ofs. So consistent, quote unquote. 4 Argenport Instigator, 4 Black Hall War Leader, 4 Seer, 4 Champion of Chaos, 4 Crooked Alley Guide, 4 Milos Rebel Bomber, 4 Nimble Conscripts, 2 Touch of Force, 4 Bandit Queen, 1 Fire Sigil, 1 Shadow Sigil, 4 Diplomatic Seal, 4 Emblem of Makar, 4 Emblem of Shavka, 3 Granite Waystone, 4 StoneScar Banner, 4 StoneScar Insignia. The market consists of an Edict of Shavka, a Hideout Pistol, a Phoenix Stone, Wyatt Junk Collector, and a Pyre Elemental. Without further ado, Dubmic, take it away, friend.
So basically, I mean, for anybody who's played Eternal for quite a while, StoneScar Aggro has been pretty consistent on the aggro side of the game. You know, when you have cards like Instigator and you mix it with, you know, Torch and Seer and now Salvo, so you've got, you know, really good quick removal. You can get blockers out of the way. You punished them for killing their own units. As far as War Leader goes, I think what a lot of people forget about War Leader is once you get him online, when you activate your emblems with the Decimate, you know, those are drawn cards, so those get pumped as well. So coming to your, you know, 4th or 5th turn and being able to turn over an Emblem of Shaka and get a 4/4 or 5/5 overwhelm is very, very devastating to your opponent. You would not believe how many people still don't know the rules on Deadly and Overwhelm, so Champion is always as devastating as it can be. I think what brought this deck back into the forefront was Milos being able to have that 3/3 unit on 3rd turn with Overwhelm and Charge, and you don't shut down the life gain of your opponent, but you again punish them for having it. And then I put a little touch of Force Spice in there, which really it put in a lot of work in the tournament. Being able to give your Overwhelm creatures double damage, and then throw that extra onto a spot removal to be able to take, you know, 6 to the face from a Seer or a Torch. You know, using Salvo on your own creatures sometimes just to be able to get out that Pyre Elemental for a quicker going off on 3rd turn. I mean, it's a pretty fun deck to play. I'm not gonna lie. I think with the new balance patch, it got nerfed quite considerably, but I think it still has potential. It might be a little weaker, but it still has the same front end as it's always had.
Couple things that I picked up playing the deck was that I never played Champion unless I had it at least at a 4/4. So it could stay out of Seer and Torch range. Literally, even if it was the only unit in my hand, I did not run it out there unless I could make it a 4/4. That did make a difference as to how I played my Diplomatic Seals, because I always took in consideration both double fire from Milos as well as what power that I've played and what power do I have in my hand to make it to either 3 shadow or 3 fire.
Absolutely.
I preferred the Ash Elemental from the Emblem of Shafka over the Deadly Elemental, mainly because of the Overwhelm. That obviously made it to where chump blocking was harder to do. Touch of Force went really well with all 3 of those Overwhelm units, like you much said. Just having Milos all of a sudden do 6 damage, so 2 or 3 killed the unit, and then 3 or 4 went over, and Overwhelm was huge.
Also, in certain matchups, that's really good with that Instigator. Like double pings against like a go wide style deck.
Yeah.
Oof, they get wrecked.
Oh, you stole my thunder. That was the last thing I was gonna say. Yeah, sure enough.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, sure. Instigator, putting double damage on that does mean that they'll deal 1 damage to player when the unit dies. It will do 2 damage instead. That definitely changes math very quickly.
Yeah, that double damage touch in there, that was a spicy and excellent consideration. Like really like that.
Yeah, combo.
Yeah, there was actually one of the games in the challenge where I ran up against FTS Carver, and actually had the good fortune to touch an instigator, and they went maybe 2 turns and just quit.
Yeah, that's the exact kind of matchup I was thinking of. Like, they just kind of killed themselves.
I mean, they got to the point where they couldn't even filter through their deck with Carver because they were taking 2 damage every time they did it. So that
Nice.
Yep. A couple other things is that the emblem units that decimate off of the emblems do trigger the inspire from War Leader. So if you have 1 or 2 +1/+1 or +2/+2 on it, the elementals will get that bonus, as well as the pyre elemental coming out of the market. So just something to consider.
Yeah, Dub mentioned those. That's like like he kind of said, it's like an underutilized or like an unnoticed sometimes move. Like those war leaders are so good in a deck like this. Like, and if you just get in that one hit like on turn 2, like you're pretty set up to win that game. Like that's the kind of thing that just snowballs the game out of control subtly.
Head-out pistol was very strong. I like that inclusion as well, especially on the overwhelm unit. I think was very good.
I played this deck a little bit without Milos, of course, but the market was super flexible and it kind of can go there and could get you whatever you needed. So I thought the market was really well designed.
I think the elemental was like doing overtime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for me.
It was definitely.
Well, I think there's only 2 2-drop units in the deck, but the beauty of it is they both have a 3-butt on them. Mm-hmm. So if you come up against that they don't put out somebody on their second turn, and you've put out War Leader or Instigator on your second turn, you can come back on your third turn and salvo your own guy, go and get that pyre elemental, and now you're swinging for 6 or 7.
Just start serving.
Yeah, so it definitely helps to speed up how fast you can throw the damage at them.
Yeah. Overall, it was
very cool.
Fun deck.
Yeah. So I mean, Jedi, I don't think he mentioned it, but Jedi also piloted this deck this weekend and made top 64 with it.
Yes, he did. Congrats, Master Jedi.
But yeah, congrats to both of you guys. Like, well played, guys.
Who plays Constructed? What are you talking about?
Whatever. So what made you choose StoneScar for this weekend more than anything else, Dub?
I mean, I wanted to do aggro, and all the other aggros that are going around right now. There's creation, a little bit of Cambrai. But it seemed like StoneScar was not only the quickest, but it seemed to be the most consistent. There's, you can win, 8, 9, 10 games in a row, inside the first 5 turns. And in my run, I think about 9 or 10 of my wins were all won with 3 or less power. I mean, the deck's got potential of where you can apply enough damage quickly, or even potentially go, obviously in any deck, it hurts to miss that power drop, but it seems as though it doesn't hurt as much in this deck, where you can make it to 5th or 6th or 7th turn before you lay your 4th power and still be doing something effective every turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still build your board, kill something, throw some damage at their face, whatever the case may be.
The only time I ever saw awkward tension for me was when I didn't have a Bandit Queen in hand, but my 4th power was an emblem. So I had to make that awkward decision on whether to decimate the emblem there just to get another unit on the board, or hold it for the turn I have the queen, That was about the only, I mean, obviously this deck, because you're trying to do 25 damage as quickly as possible, Xaxes, there's a lot of decision trees, but that was about the only time that I normally got a little bit of a hiccup, was where I was like, do I keep it for the queen, or do I just burn it now? So, but other than that, I loved it. It was a fun deck to pilot. Super fun. So
yeah, well constructed too. I think out of all the I know they only posted the top 16 decks for this weekend, but I think out of all those, I'm pretty sure your deck got nerfed the most, like as far as the balance
absolutely.
changes this week. So you must have been onto something there.
Yeah, they gutted this poor deck. It's not even playable.
I mean, it is still
They
playable,
did.
but it did get gutted. Like a lot of the things that gave it an edge have been dulled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and not only did they nerf it, but they also buffed Defiance, which now touches every creature in the deck except for Bandit Queen.
And they like nerfed 2 commons, like specifically out of that deck. It's like,
some very good draft, like our poor draft form got some weird changes.
Drafters still paying the price for constructed.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. Dubmic, thank you so much for coming on the show, buddy. Really do appreciate it. It means a lot. I know it was a little bit of last minute. We've been planning on having the show for a minute, but today's show specifically was a little bit last minute. When we were doing the constructed, where we're like, well, shoot, let's just get let's get team captain in here. But thank you so much for being on the show, buddy. Really do appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you?
They can reach me on Discord. I'm usually in your Twitch channel. Let me say the best stream on Twitch. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
Here.
John, you're replaced. Oh, well, shoot. Alex, you're replaced.
If
I'll just mute myself out permanently.
You're still in the studio with us, so you're just muted the whole time.
you can also find me on Twitter at Dubmic at Cinematic Blur. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Sweet. Awesome, man. For the record,
congrats again, on your excellent finish this weekend.
Well done, guys.
Huge.
I appreciate it very much.
Yeah,
well played.
There were a lot of big names in the tournament, and you made yours one amongst them. So well done, friend. Well done.
Excited for what's to come next out of the brew hive mind we got going on there.
Yes, sir.
And just wanted to clarify, Alex was the original hype man for the podcast, so he's probably the sole reason this podcast is still going. So throwing some love to my co-host, my friends.
Certainly not Jedi the work machine.
I mean, in our 100th episode, you know, we did talk about how I take a lot of naps, so
that was the 50th. 50th episode. You're getting a little ahead of yourself.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. God, it feels like 100. Fair.
Oh.
No, in a good way, in a good way. But I think it's because I kick it with you guys so much. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it really, I think the only difference between us hanging out and recording a podcast is the recording button. Like, I really do. So.
Also, we keep it a little more
little
PG,
bit of language.
a little more family friendly.
Actually, shoot, maybe we'll do that for our 100th episode. Lose the PG rating. Let us
no holds barred. Baby.
Let us know in the comments below if you guys would like to see a more adult rated show for some special event or whatnot. Let me know. It might be something we try. We did talk about possibly doing an adult D&D session, like a one shot for the 3 of us. So yeah. All right.
Oh, if you do an adults version, I'm coming back for that.
You definitely are.
Meanwhile, all the people that are listening with their kids around, the kids are like, what do they mean? Nothing, honey. Go back to playing. All right. So that's going to do it for us, guys. Once again, you can catch all 4 of us at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ. We do a lot of limited, but we are doing some brew Saturday stuff. So if you have a card you want us to brew around or deck doctor your brew, give us a shout out there. Of course, you can catch all this content, including the video version of this podcast, on YouTube. So just search up Eternal Journey and bam, you have it. And then, of course, much like what Dubmic said, you can get a hold of all 4 of us on the Discord. Links down below in the show notes. You're more welcome to join. We have one heck of a community in there now. Tons of streamers, tons of content creators, various games going on. It's just great. If you want to talk limited, you want to talk sealed, you want to talk constructed, come in there. It's a great, like, we've built something absolutely amazing, and I would love for you guys to be a part of it. But that's going to do it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am absolutely grateful of all the kind generosity, and just, I hope you get better. Like, every day, I feel like every week I get more and more people telling me that they get better at limited. They're trying limited now. They've gotten their first 7 wins because of this podcast, because of the videos, and that means the absolute world to me. Case in point, Dubmic's been drafting. He made Masters, and he was not a drafter before he met me. So kudos once again. Thank you, Alex and John, for taking this journey with me. You guys are great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Dubmic, one last time. Congratulations on your great finish. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank your wife for letting me steal you for a little while.
Absolutely, no problem, man.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it. So as always, happy gaming.
Bye.
Good luck in your Scion Draft queues, folks.
Ooh.
Yep. We'll see you around.